Well, thank you for joining me this morning. Anyway, here is my Bible verse for today, Isaiah 41:10, which says, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." And I claim it. And I am claiming it, and I'm getting better. But I have been through a trial, but the Lord has held my hand. James has been right there and helping me. And I've walked at the Y this morning for, well, about 18 minutes, which is pretty good for me. So I'm thanking Him that I'm feeling better, but I cannot get this Wi Fi to work here. So I hope this will get through. I won't talk too long. But it was so nice to get out of the house and go walking, and I have tried to I did a video, I think Friday morning, and I talked quite a few minutes, and I was feeling good, and it comes and it goes, but I'm getting stronger. So I appreciate all y'all been doing good. So when is this going to end? You wonder, don't you? But it's ending. I think I'm trusting the Lord that I'll get back to normal. Dr. Vickers, that handsome doctor of mine, gave me um two pills. One of them controls the blood pressure and heart, and the other one controls just the blood pressure. So I take the other one, which he gave me, just once a day, and it's doing good. And I'm happy to tell you that my blood pressure was 133 over 67, and my heart rate is running good. My heart's been beating irregularly and beating too fast, so that one medicine slows it down. I was so tickled to hear that there is a bunch of y'all on it. I mean, quite a few have told me that they're on this medicine and that it does good. That makes you feel better, don't it? It makes me feel better. I'm glad to hear it because you like to get some recommendations because who do I know that's on it? Nobody. And personally, don't know a soul. So I'm drinking my caffeine free coffee this morning. It said stay off caffeine. Yuck. But this ain't too bad. It ain't too good either. I'll be honest with you, it is not too good. But a person needs to stay hydrated. So I'm going to drink my decaffeinated coffee and do what the doctor says and what the medication says don't do, which is don't have caffeine. So that takes care of that problem. My kitty cats, let me tell you, they are such company for me around here at James's house. I mean, they are such company, and I just enjoy them so much. And I call my little girl baby girl. And when I go to bed to take a nap, and I've been taking 2 or 3 naps a day, she absolutely hunts me up, comes and sits in the bed, lays in the bed with me, lays her body right up against my hand, and puts one paw in my hand because my hand's laying out right like that. So she just puts her paw in it, and then we just take a nap together, and that's what she does. But I'm so glad I'm feeling better and I'm looking better. My wig don't look bad. You fake it till you make it or something. Do the best you can with what you got. When I was a little girl, I was always prissy. You know what prissy is. I always wanted to look cute. And I always, as a little girl, had ribbons in my hair or scarves. And when I got in high school, I put scarves around my neck. And we was poor. We was not with funds much, but you can get a ribbon. It don't cost that much, and Mom would make me bows and put them in my hair. And when I was in school, I had bows in my hair. So I've always primped. And when I went to church, and I remember when I used to go to church, I had a boyfriend at church. Let me tell you about my boyfriend, Kent Rippey. And I've told you about Kent before. He came to live with his grandma up the road from the Horner's Chapel Church where we went to church, which is still there, but they never have church in it anymore. But Buddy was buried out there October 30th, 19, I don't remember exactly the year, but it's been Well, he was 63 years old, and I'm 92, and I'm 2 years younger than he is. If he was still alive, he would be 94. But he died at 63, and he was buried out there in Horner's Chapel, and we had the funeral. And Karen, my daughter, reminded me of it that the other day when October 31st, when he was buried. And Horner's Chapel, that day, the weather in November, and it was November, no, it was October 31st, I believe, the weather turned real warm. And they had a big pot bellied stove in the middle of that church. And that day, they had to start that stove burning. And then it had wasp nests up in the top of the church, which is just a one room with two little rooms in the back. It's just out in the, it only had an outhouse, and you was afraid to go to the outhouse because there was spiders and there might be snakes. You just didn't go there unless you was desperate. So you know what we would do? We would get behind the church. Nobody gonna see you, and do it pee there because you gotta go sometimes. But anyway, they had Buddy's funeral, and the wasp came out of the ceiling, and they were flying all through the air, and everybody was ducking. And he had a lovely funeral. His We had food down at the church where we was going at that time, Assembly of God Church, down past Corden, Indiana, and it was a big church, and they had a big dinner for him. And what we did was we celebrated his graduation. So it's good to have a church when you pass away because you have so many loving people around you. And they just had this big dinner, and it was wonderful. They still do that around in the country churches because James and I went. He had a niece pass away about a year ago, and they and it's way over in Louisville somewhere, and we don't know the outskirts of Louisville at all. So we said we was going to go. This church was having a big dinner for her, and they told us where we thought it was, and so we went out where the street they said it was, and we came to a Baptist church. Excuse me, and we saw cars parked all around this church. Excuse me. So we pulled in, and excuse me, there was cars everywhere. So we just went in the door because we could smell food, and we went in and we said, "Is this a funeral dinner?" They said, "Yes, it is." I said, "Well, we're at the right place, honey." They said, "Just sit down, make yourself at home." They didn't know who he was. We didn't know who they were. So we sat down, made ourselves at home, and the next thing you knew, they was bringing food to us on a plate. And said, "Get whatever you want, if you want others." And so we said, "Well, is this such and such?" And the name sounded similar. And I said, "Well, this is it." It wasn't. We was at the wrong dinner, and we finally figured it out. And we told the ladies, we said, "We're so sorry, but there's another one down the road for our niece whose name is," and it was very like the one that had passed away where we was at. So we called uh, another relative, and they said, "Well, no, this is several churches on down the road. There's a lot of Baptist churches over in Louisville and in Kentucky." Praise the Lord. So we went on down and we visited with them, but we had already had dinner, thank you. And we had a good dinner at that other Baptist church, which turned out marvelous. So strange things happen in this life. But last Tuesday, when I fell slid off that chair, that began my vertigo. And evidently it knocked my body out of whack because I fell so hard and landed so hard on my rear end. It was awful. And when I got up and I stayed dizzy even with my medication for 2 days, and then they put me on another medication, told me to take that, and it didn't work. And so I was still so sick that James and his secretary called the doctor's office and made me an appointment. And I said, "Oh, I'll be all right. I'll be all right. I'll be all right." They said, "You are going." So I went. And I did not realize that my blood pressure was out of control, my heart beating too fast. When I landed, evidently I knocked my whole body out of proportion or whatever. I don't know. But it's doing better. And I can walk around now without the stroller, without my cart. But I'm kind of dependent on it. I don't want to fall while James is gone, so I use it when he's gone and he's at church. And church is over here because they have two services, and he goes to the first one, and then you know where he goes. He goes to Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards, places like that, and comes on home. And I told him, I said, "Darling, I'm hungry again and I'm eating. And I tell you what, let's order a dinner in." So I decided that I would see if I could find out how you get a meal delivered. Well, I'm not techie enough. Shucks. So DoorDash, I tried to click in on that and everything. And I decided I would do it like I did it before, which is I just call and order it in, and James goes and picks it up. He's my DoorDasher. And so on Sundays, we like to have lunch late, like 2 o'clock. So it's only 11 o'clock now. And so I'll just call it in and he can go pick it up. He's my DoorDasher, and that'll work. But I may have to do that later, but not yet. We just do the best we can with what we got, children. And I know you all do that because we all have our trials and tribulations, and we just lean on the Lord. And that's all I've ever done. And I've been through a lot of trials and tribulations, and this has been a tough one. But Jesus, my Lord and Savior, has got me through it. And my brother's wife is Norman's wife is having some trials and tribulations. She's been in the hospital and out and not doing real well at times. But last night I called him and asked him how Benita was doing. He said she's doing a little better. She has a heart condition that runs in her family, and it's been that way. And Norman has been taking care of her for the last 2 or 3 years. Uh, because she's not able, it leaves her so weak. And I found out just what I've got leaves me so weak. But my strength is coming back because I was able to walk 18 minutes this morning with the help with the walker. And that walker is a jewel. I am blessed that James bought that 4 years ago because it was on hand. You know, it was in my garage. Oh, because we didn't want it. I didn't. I said, I'm not going to use that thing anymore. Sell it. He said, no, someday we might need it. So he's a keeper. And I don't know what God's going to do with all of his stuff when he goes to be with the Lord because he's got garages full of stuff. Not my problem. I'm not letting that get my blood pressure up. And the main thing in this life is to look on the bright side, keep a sense of humor, and depend upon Jesus. And the first thing you do is depend upon Jesus. And then you just keep on trucking. And that's what I've been doing, and I feel a lot better. I mean, when you get 92 years old, kiddos, you just ain't what you. I sung a little song the other day, the old gray mare ain't what she used to be. And that's a fact, Jack. So, anyhow, here comes my darling husband. So, I'm going to shut up, and we will talk to you another time and walk that walk where Jesus would be pleased with you. Love you. God bless you.